Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our Saturday's chess show on IBM TV. My name is Sasha Star, and I would like to introduce to Professor Ken Regan, who's been many times on our show, and I'm proud to have him today again. Hello, Ken. How are you doing today?
Hello, Sasha. Thank you very much for having me on again. I'm in a different location from previously.
That's
Uh,
great.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What I'd like to talk today about the place of chess in contemporary society. What means chess, and how to describe its place in contemporary society? It's a complicated subject. I'm not expecting easy answers to this question or many questions, as we will see. But chess is so unique. Among other arts or sciences or sports, so to say, that different people find it's different ways to satisfy themselves, because there is definitely, if you will take a sport side of chess, then there's a lot of room for people with a certain level of aggression where they can unleash on their opponents, whether it's a tournament game or a world championship match or 3 minutes chess online on chess.com, some other devices. So, Ken, what do you think about this subject?
Well, I think that there are three main factors. I perceive, compared to my childhood, a shift for which there are three main factors. One, which I might call a negative factor, is that chess no longer holds the cachet of being the pinnacle of the intellect because computers can now beat humans at chess. In fact, computers on our phones can beat us at chess. So we've lost that supremacy, and that maybe lessens, but it really doesn't actually, the tendency of companies to associate with chess with the idea that it's the pinnacle of intellect. The second thing that's happened is that chess has become cooler, or at least has become less uncool. And I would say this was true even 5, 10 years ago, not merely as a result of the Queen's Gambit series. Okay, but it's part of general how what we would call nerd culture has become more mainstream in the past 20 plus years than in the 1970s when I was a child. And the third factor, which I have not been able to observe so directly, has been the great push for chess in the schools, how much it has been accepted as a facet of life on the basis of having been taught openly as part of the school curriculum.
Okay, so this one must be a positive development, because
Yeah.
I'm strong believer in maybe not mandatory teaching of chess, but at least to have it available, widely available in schools, because obviously kids who take chess classes and playing chess and learning about chess, and not only just moves and openings, but chess history, the culture of chess, the great chess players, their games, or so on. I believe that they have a better chances to succeed in general classes, educational, like math and physics and chemistry and others. That's been proven in many different countries like France, Germany, never mind Soviet Union, where everyone played chess. And I remember, and the level of chess in Soviet Union was remarkably high. I remember, the Dutch grandmaster Hans Rie, who, after his trip to Soviet Union, he came to back home at Holland, and he told, I think, Kenneth Sasonka, that he will never again will go to Soviet Union because he developed a level of inferiority. He felt that any bus driver could defeat him at chess game,
Ah,
and it was not a pleasant thought for him to endure. So he actually quit. So education, yes, it's definitely an idea. Now,
yeah. No,
um,
no, Sasha, no сейчас между Америкой и старыми советскими республиками
ha ha ha!
равно. So
Hey, Ken,
I,
brilliant.
I'm saying, between the Americas and the old Soviet states, is it more equal now?
Yes, yes, that's right. Actually, U.S. players are now more equal than Russians.
Yeah, but among kids, among bus drivers, among society, that's what I'm really asking. What's your perception of comparing Toronto to wherever you live, Riga?
Well, I feel that today's Toronto bus drivers, I'm not so convinced that they're really that strong.
Mm,
I have my doubts about that, although maybe I'm not right. So if you will organize tournament Toronto bus drivers, for example, against New York bus drivers, that will be a quite interesting experience to see which bus drivers are better at chess. And then the winner will play against Moscow bus drivers, and
mm.
will find the truth. That's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
only
that's
way
great.
how to do it. Yeah, that's interesting thought. Now there's many other outlets for chess. For example, what would you consider chess as an entertainment? Um,
Yeah, well,
some
there are
people,
streamers in chess
yeah.
are just looked at where they're popular, not because they are strong elo chess players, but because they're entertainers. Adgamortor certainly has a large following of people who are not chess nuts by any means, but were able to pick up enough of what he portrays in the games.
Yeah, I remember. I witnessed. I attended the great. At the time, it was Kasparov's organized tournaments, and one of them was in Javits Center in New York City, and they played all stars. They played at that time. I think they were playing 25 minutes per game, and everybody played Kasparov and Kramnik and Ant and just all stars at that time. And it was greatly attended tournament. There were people staying in line sometimes to get ticket, and they had a phenomenal lighting, introduction of players. I'm surprised that it was probably 1994 or 95. So we're talking about something that happened almost 30 years ago, 27, 26 to be
Yeah,
precise. And nothing of that stature is happening these days. How would
right.
you?
I attended the 1986 match in London,
Yes,
and that was
fantastic.
that was well, I'll say by comparison, I attended the 2016 match and the 1986 match, uh,
Hmm.
and London, it was much more open. There were more people. You were able to move around freely. One reason people are not able to move around freely is because they might be signaling moves from computers. Security, the players in 2016 played behind a glass enclosure, and
Yeah.
which in small groups you were allowed to go behind and see. So,
Hmm.
for instance, I was a small group going in, and Neil deGrasse Tyson, the famous popular scientist, was in a small group coming out. Um, so that's part of it. Whereas 86, it was a dignified but festival atmosphere.
Absolutely. And they had on the opening, I think they played from musical chess some of the numbers, right?
They could have, yes. There was
Yeah.
that was happening at the same time.
So this is another sort of spectacular chess as the inspiration for musical chess, and a lot of chess books, novels, movies, I should say,
Yeah,
and
well, we are lucky that Tim Rice is a chess fan.
yeah,
So
that's
I
great.
should cover that fact at some point on the blog that I co-write. We recently did the same for the actor Michael Caine. So this is a big item again in the regular standing of chess in society, and that you know Michael Caine is a chess fan. He even played a chess knowledgeable chess player in a detective movie. Was it Harry Brown? I have to look up my own blog post to find
Mm.
in 12 years ago.
That's quite interesting. I was many years ago in Moscow. I think it was before Gelfand Anand match. So it was 2011, but I believe it was early 2012.
Mhm.
I've developed a very interesting concept. which was to have a musical chess. Because I always regretted about, always thinking about great matches that were never played. And one of those matches obviously was Fischer Karpov. That would be a great match. Unfortunately, it's never been played. Although, essentially, from what I read, both wanted to play, but not at the same time. Karpov
Yes.
refused to play in 1975. It was due play, and they dictated their own. Actually, Fischer agreed to all his Russian demands except one, and the match never took place. But a couple of years later, Karpov was quite interested to play Fischer, and they even met, I believe, in Tokyo and in Philippines, but something like they couldn't click. They were almost there, but not 100%. Unfortunately, much never took place. So what my idea was to have one computer program which would be played in the style of Karpov, and another computer program which would be playing in the style of Fischer, and then to have musical chess, and the game would be played on top. There would be a huge demonstration board, and the game, real game in real time, would be played between computer, let's call him Karpov, and another one we will call him Fischer. And real game with unknown result, it would be just really played during the musical. And I've met Anatoly Karpov. I knew him many years before that, but anyway, I've arranged and have a meeting with him. And at the same time, I had a meeting with one of the Moscow top musical producers to ask if he would be interested in that. Of course, he was. Now, Karpov liked the idea, and the only thing what he demanded, and that actually unfortunately killed the idea, he wanted to have the game before he, because I wanted him to comment live a game as it's played. And he wanted to have a game played before that, and then he would comment on already finished game. He didn't want to comment a live game with uncertain outcome and unclear what will happen later on, and so on. So unfortunately, that never happened.
Well,
But
that's a shame.
it was, I think, it was quite interesting idea. Still do. What do you think, Ken?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, you could having a fixed game. I guess the question is, do you want to generate a game with a known outcome right away? You can certainly bring that about by using the work of my chess model, because my chess model can be trained on players and then simulate them.
You mean style of the player, yeah?
Styles of play is if you train it on the
Hmm.
game, you will automatically get the reflection of the style of the players.
Really? Huh,
Yes,
very
that's
interesting.
correct. Yeah. So
So
that
if remember last program we were talking about the great game Fischer against Leonid
Yes, that's
Stein,
right. We were going to do
right?
that.
So you could believe that a computer could play in a style of Fischer and another one in the style of
Yes,
Stein.
if you gave it about 100 of the players' games as inputs.
Hmm.
Now, mind you, it depends on. I probably need a few more parameters to. Right now, the only parameters I have constitute a they constitute a judgment on these the trade-off between strategy and tactics that the player employs. So I have one parameter that represents strategic ability, another player that really represents the ability to solve technical minefields. That's just like one dimension of a Karpov tendency versus a Tal tendency. Now there are actually two other parameters that would have the effect of modeling whether a player plays complex chess or clear chess. And I always identify clear chess with both Capablanca and with Bobby. Um,
Although
so Bobby a bit
Fischer.
more tactical than than
Hmm.
than, than Capablanca, but along that dimension. So I could
Hmm.
represent that, and probably if I adopted a less frequentist and more machine learning point of view, I could invent some arbitrary neural parameters that might capture more of a player's style.
Ken, if you remember some games that Fischer played in that famous Blitz tournament in Yugoslavia in 1970, where he almost killed everybody except Korchnoi, who had
Right.
one
Yes.
score.
I forgot to. I must admit, I completely forgot to look up my records on that or to run it. I
No, you
guess.
know why I'm so fascinated with this tournament, not only because of Fischer's superiority, but the style, how he played, not even how strong he was, because it was apparent that he is very, very strong at the time, but the style was exactly the same as his classical games. He was not playing like Fischer. Normally, people play blitz games differently, more tactical, probably more
Yeah.
so kind of free flowing game. But Fischer played just as a way he would play classical game.
hmm Yeah. With
That's
clarity.
remarkable.
So you would play clarity for clear uh, games, and you can do that with relatively less time.
Yeah, he was killing everybody. How about if we will take now a short break, and
hmm
we'll continue in
Right. Yep.
30 seconds or so.
Okay. Yep.
Here Okay, we are back now. Uh, so what we were talking about, it's also application of chess for development of computer programs. Although now computer programs are more playing the role in development of chess, but earlier it started probably in early 50s, if not late 40s,
Oh
where
yes, absolutely. Yeah.
even before
It's
that,
an emblematic application.
right, and
Originally thought of as imitating human thinking capacity and logical thought, and then it really became an index on optimizing the power of hardware because brute force search had clearly replaced the chess knowledge approach by the early 1980s.
mhm.
And I know some people who regretted that, but uh, in any event, I was got a prestigious invitation to write an article, Computer Chess, for the Springer Verlag 10,000th anniversary issue of the Springer Lecture Notes and Computer
Wow.
Science series. So I titled the paper "Rating Computer Science via Chess," about
Hmm.
how chess essentially created a Moore's law of games, where the rise in chess programs was an index on the fact that they were making software and hardware advances, drawing in from all areas of computer science, and hence giving you an index on the strength of the entire field.
Wow, isn't it interesting that chess programs, of course, as we talked before, they excel at chess and are stronger as human beings. So is a Go. I don't play Go, but from what I read, it's a very complicated strategic game, and also computers surpassed human
Right.
play.
It took
Right?
longer, and I must say that AlphaGo and Alpha Zero greatly shortened the time that I was expecting Go had. So the
Mm,
measurement that I use is an idea of a Hungarian named Laszlo Mero, who wrote a book on measuring people in all intellectual and physical sports. And
hmm.
he had the idea of the class unit, which was the interval of skill at which the stronger expects to win 75% of the time or take three-quarters of the points. And in chess, that corresponds to about 200 rating points. So if you figure 600 as an adult beginner, I mean, kids' ratings go lower, but figure 600 to champion 2800 is 11 class units. Okay. Go, I estimate, shogi, Japanese chess, was reliably estimated at 14 class units. So it took computers, 10 more years or so to prevail as shogi. But Go is a deep game. I thought it was up around 25 class units and would last until the middle of this century. But of
Very
course, they'll
interesting.
prove that
Uh,
I'm wrong. Yeah.
But Ken, there is one game which a lot of chess players love to play, and so do I, is backgammon. Do you think program already on a level of beating people? Because
Yes.
in
Oh, yeah.
backgammon there is a factor of unpredictability. Because of
The
that.
backgammon is class unit of 10, if I remember the source correctly. So that
Yeah,
in checker, an 8 by 8 checker, is not quite as strong as chess. I will just tell you that backgammon I find relaxing. I could play it decently.
I love.
Go, I find exhausting. It wipes out my brain far more than a game of chess does.
Hmm.
So
Wow.
that's my own experience of the relative complexity of those games.
Hmm. Okay. So we are talking about now. We started to before the break. We started to talk about entertainment quality of chess,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we talk about this great tournaments, one that you attended in 1986 in London, and I've attended quite a few tournaments. One of them, actually quite interesting. I attended match between Anand and Gelfand in Moscow, and it
Mhm.
was played in Tretyakov Gallery. It's a famous museum
Yes,
with
of
great
course.
artworks, and it was played right there. So the idea was to, when I talked a lot about getting the closeness between chess and arts. So this was one of the attempts to achieve just that, and another one is, of course, we talk about musical chess and many books and movies and so
Mhm.
on. Now let's talk about the entertainment. Actually, people watching live chess, as we discussed it before, and unfortunately, after this tournaments that organized by Gary Kasparov and his organization, it started to almost disappear. And even now, some attempts, okay, we're talking about world championships only because other tournaments are not worth really talk about. World champions still have, but it's once every 2 years, so obviously it's not enough to consider it as an entertainment value, the venue, so to speak. Do you think there is a chance that some organizers will do that to see? Because in order something to be widely popular, successful, interesting, you need interest to event.
Right. Yeah.
Take soccer matches, take tennis matches, like now in U.S. Open, what you see happens, or so on. So one of the ideas is that chess is unfortunately is very limited to a certain level because of two things. Number one, there is no money in chess, unlike
That's
other
true.
sports.
League of Legends has more money than chess.
Number two is that, look, even if you don't understand anything about, let's say, classical music, and you will go to a concert and there will be, I don't know, Fifth Symphony of Beethoven and so on, you may appreciate just a little of what's happened and say, yeah, that was great symphony. I enjoyed it, and
Sure.
uh,
That's
yeah.
wow. Yeah.
Or even like remember old joke of Jackie Mason when he's talking about that he attended ballet in New York City, and so somebody asked him, "So how was the ballet? How was it ballet? How was about it? What can you say?" He said it's about 3 hours long.
Yeah.
So so that's something to think about. So in chess, unfortunately, unlike music or soccer, if you don't understand the game, if you don't know the movement of pieces, it cuts right there everything, whatever, any involvement that you might have with chess as a spectator
Though,
finishes.
though at least in chess, even for a rapid chess, I don't know about blitz, the pace can be slow enough for someone to be able to explain it to you in real time. Whereas in video games like League of Legends, I can't understand the fighting or how the person was able to pop a wizard into place at just the right time. It's all too fast. Real time is much more of an essence in those games. So, but people learn to be able to follow those. So must happen.
Also, what I found it, I follow some of this Carlson tournaments online. They have very fast time control, 10 minutes per game, 15 minutes per game. Never mind all this Armageddon and 3 minutes and so on.
The
But
aim
even
chess going on is 25. It will be 10, 15 plus 10. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, you may say so. It's 25 minutes, but even that, you can't really appreciate all the strategy, the moves, the variations, or so on, even with good commentaries.
Mhm.
I think it's not enough time. If the game would be, say, 40 to 45 minutes, probably that would be more enjoyable. Why
Yeah.
not?
It might be, yeah. Although the thing is, if with 25, the nice thing about 25 minutes is the game will fit into a 1 hour slot. Whereas
Hmm.
45 minutes, you'd be going over 90, you'd be going toward 2 hours. It's the length of a soccer match then. So, um,
Hmm.
so
I
it's
see. And
that's
I feel that most of the today star grandmasters, they're all very young people. So maybe they enjoyed themselves faster time control, and that works for them better.
yeah, it could be. There was one incredible blunder that was a little bit subtle. Oh yeah, it was in the aim chess. And it was an unrealized opportunity where if you were playing slow chess, probably the player would have seen it. But a rapid chess, the player didn't suspect it. I don't know. I had to hunt for the game. It was just a few days ago.
Mm, very interesting.
Yeah, and it shows up clearly when you view the game on a viewer that has a chess engine. Um, but there was one. Wait, there was one such chance that was taken. A very nice beginner exercise where white captured a pawn with and expecting black to recapture with a pawn. And instead, black has a three-check sequence that recaptures with a rook, and the rook is hitting the bishop, which is guarding white's rook, and white will lose a piece. So that was a case where the player did see it, but the case where the player didn't see it, because it was like a sudden opportunity, I have to hunt it up.
Hmm.
But you do have with rapid chess. I mean, my work shows fairly conclusively that game 25 is played at a level almost 250 elo below slow chess level.
Really, that's
Yeah,
such a difference?
yeah, that's it. Does make such a difference,
Wow.
largely because of the greater frequency of the kind of mistake I just talked about.
Mm, I see. Um, it's quite interesting because, as you know, um, I'm developing the model of democratic chess, which
Right.
probably will solve at least two of the problems what I've just mentioned. Number one is the complete absence of any money for millions and even tens of millions of people who are following chess. But
Mhm.
at the end of the day, it's becoming kind of a futile, it's a dead end because okay, you may reach certain level, you will appreciate some tournaments from time to time, but then you will see that there is nothing in it. It's really a dead end for you. But however, if there is a tournament for move predictors where there is a first prize of say $500,000 and several lesser prizes, now it's different proposition. So it's no longer a nerd activity. So if somebody won, let's say not even $500,000, let's say somebody won $50,000. So he comes to school and he says, "Oh, I just picked up $50,000." And oh, how did you do that? Oh, where did you play? How could I join you? And so on. It will. I hope that it will provide a new outlet for people to learn chess and follow chess and do
That's
something.
true. Yeah, to especially to learn to consider what the reasonable moves are. That's an early skill. Like have a player think how many reasonable moves are there in this position, and that gives you a deeper understanding of any one.
Yeah, but you know the interesting study. It's essentially a book by one Dutch scientist, de Groot,
Yeah, the
Adrian de
group. Yes,
Groot.
that's right.
Remember, when he showed very clearly that masters they would consider 4 or 5 possible moves, reasonable moves.
Yeah.
I'm talking about middle game position.
Right.
And
Yeah.
when he showed this position to elite players like Keres or Alohian and a couple of others, and they would, in any position, they would see only 1.8 moves.
Well,
So
certainly under three. Yeah. Yeah.
they wouldn't look more than 2 moves. So see, here is a great advantage for them because if average master would analyze 4 or 5 moves,
Well, it's
these people
exactly what
analyze
the
only
main
2 moves.
equation of my chess model does. The higher the person's rating, the lower the probabilities of moves after the top three, say. So,
Hmm.
so, so,
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
so,
that's,
so,
that's
I, so I
very
have
nice.
that in very large data taken from all the world's chess players. Yeah.
Hmm.
So, um,
Yeah, very, very, very
and that surprised
enlightening.
someone. So in 1986, the person who was then an AI superstar, sort of still is, David McAllister of MIT, visited Cornell. And he, in the company of Bob Constable, asked me, oh, well, when you look at a chess position, how many moves do you consider? And my answer was at most three, and that shocked him. He thought the number would be closer to 10. so so yeah, so that was an interesting little bit of
So
idea.
you could have helped him by telling that at least 7 moves what he is looking at. It's a waste of time.
Or that his neural nets or whatever whatever he was using we're looking at. Yeah, but there are cases where there are 10 reasonable moves to play and they get played a lot of times. So there are all sorts of chess positions.
Yeah, even in the opening, as we know.
Hmm.
Yeah, listen, Ken, it's always my pleasure to have you on the program. I hope to see you soon again.
Thank you. And we hope the last thing we could have touched on was how the pandemic increased the popularity of chess on the supply side because it is readily available online. So what
So
we
how
need to
about
think about,
if we will do next program, chess and pandemic?
well, chess and the place of chess in society, keeping it after the pandemic is what I was going to say.
Oh,
Yeah.
fabulous.
Yes.
Great. So let's look forward to next programs. And
Right.
I'm delighted always to have you.
Okay.
And
Yep.
let's say goodbye to our listeners. And we'll see you next Saturday at 3 o'clock. It was
Most likely,
IBM
yes.
TV.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you'll be able to make it.
Yeah,
I
there,
really
there, there may be installations, clanking of spanners and
do.
wrenches in the background, but otherwise, yeah, I'll be here. Okay,
Excellent.
all right,
Thank you very much, Ken. Bye
okay.
bye, everybody.